Hello and welcome to the Gambling Files podcast, the podcast that's really winging it today. I'm one of your hosts, John Bruford, joined by your other host, the ever-dependable and considerably more professional Fintan Costello. Fintan, hello.
Hello, John.
Hi, Fintan. How are you?
I am good.
How's your summer haircut working out? Is that going well for you?
It's going great. It's going great. It does get a bit fuzzy in the humidity, in the heat.
Have you been somewhere humid?
I was down in lovely Spain, down near Patrick. I was in Malaga. So,
nice.
And yeah, I'll send you the photo. But it was just this perfect afro. It was fantastic. I was really happy with it.
If you don't mind, I'd like to use that to publicise this episode of the podcast.
Sure, go for it. Clip away, buddy.
Oh, it's good to have things to look forward to. So you went on a holiday. Is that your first holiday this year, or is that going to be your only holiday this year?
That's my only holiday this year.
Your only holiday? Because quite often you go to Australia, don't you?
Yeah, not this year. Just my wife.
Okay. Well, I'm sorry that you're not getting a month out.
I know. I definitely did the grand tour last year.
Yeah. Well, if you're going that far, you got to make it. You got to make it worth your while.
It was a solid 10 weeks, I think. It was good.
Brilliant. I unsurprisingly have not been away.
You're just back from Vegas. What are you doing?
Yes. As a well-respected former partner of mine would say, at least you get a break when you go away for work. Yes, because it's so relaxing. I tell you what, though, Fintan.
Mm-hmm.
Speaking about getting a break,
yep.
I'm going to give you a little tip here.
Go on.
Today's episode is brought to you by Gaming Laboratories International. GLI is a world-class testing, inspections and certification company committed to delivering the highest quality land-based lottery and iGaming testing and assessment services around the world.
No way.
I know, right? GLI provides suppliers, operators and regulators with expert guidance for navigating the future of gaming and ensuring gaming innovations meet regulatory standards with confidence in more than 710 jurisdictions. And if you want more information, you can visit gaminglabs.com.
Will do.
Thank you. I appreciate that. I just thought, it'd be a useful tip if you didn't, know that you could do that. Great. Anything interesting going on with any sponsors you know of?
Talking of useful tips.
Yes.
I'd like to thank OptiMove.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. They are the creators of positionless marketing and the #1 player engagement solution for iGaming and sports betting operators.
Ooh.
If you'd like to learn more on how OptiMove's positionless marketing is changing iGaming and how iGaming teams operate, go to their website, optimove.com, and book the demo.
You can get a free month if you tell them that you came from us.
Absolutely.
I wonder, right? Do you ever look at like a brand's journey and think to yourself, I wonder what the next step is? Like, everybody would have thought around the time of the new millennium that 20th Century Fox might become 21st Century Fox, but they didn't.
It did, didn't it?
Well, not really, no.
Somebody registered the trademark.
Somebody was domain squatting, and they said, okay, fuck this, and went and did something else instead. Which, it's kind of fair enough. I mean, that dude's going to be really disappointed, though, isn't he? But I wonder if OptiMove are going to go even more positionless, or maybe in the future they might come back a little bit and go a little bit positioned. I don't know, Fintan. What are your thoughts?
No, I think it's only going to get more positionless.
Yeah.
Because it's one of those things where, particularly with the feeding the algorithms and the different, particularly you just need more and more and more. And with AI and agents and all that kind of stuff, every marketer's got to wear so many different hats to just hit table stakes, let alone be great. It's getting complicated, I think.
Yes. Speaking of complicated, Fintan, we're also sponsored by World Gaming, who recently renewed for a 4th year? I think it's their 4th year, Fintan. Great bunch of lads. Of course, they consulted with us before changing their name from Clarion Gaming.
What a stupid lie.
John Fintan, what do you think? We think it's great. Go for it.
We got the press release like everyone else.
I think I probably got it later than everybody else, just in case. But the artist formerly known as Clarion Gaming is now known as World Gaming. Recently did IGB Live in London, and we are all now looking forward to, I know it's only July, but we're all now looking forward to
Ice Barcelona
2027. Yeah, it's going to be a big one. I'm excited. I haven't booked it yet. Have you booked it?
No, it's a bit early for that.
I booked 2026 in July 25.
You've never done that.
I did.
Right. You've never booked anything in advance that far.
I tell you what, I'm going to send you the booking confirmation.
Un-John thing I've ever heard in my life.
I'm going to send you the book. Well, no, because somebody paid an invoice, and I'm like, oh shit, I better do that now, otherwise I won't be going.
Fair enough. That I believe.
See, and I had a rare moment of clarity. Speaking of rare moments of clarity, Fintan, I was looking at something online this week, and I read a précis, I suppose, of an interesting article, and I contacted the author of said article, and I said, "Would you like to come on our podcast?" And luckily, he had nothing better to do. I'd like to introduce Mr. Patrick J. Now, Patrick is a founder, investor, board member, independent strategic advisor, and helps at Circle Square.
All-round legend is how I describe it.
I think I prefer that.
Patrick's new to me, but you know him, don't you?
I've had the pleasure of Patrick company before. Telling me fantastic war stories. Brilliant.
It's hello everybody. I'm increasingly being introduced as all-round legend. I think it's because people have forgotten what I do.
Or is it like getting when you get a lifetime achievement award, it means like you're about to die?
That kind of thing. One step
closer. Thing, is it?
I think you nailed it as always, Fintan. One step closer to the precipice.
My son looked at me the other day, and I was heading off for a nap, and he goes, "Dad, at your age, every nap's a gamble." Wow,
that's punchy. That's punchy. What's not a gamble is what we were talking about at the beginning. Was of course your hair. Your hair has always been such an amazing part of your identity, going back to whenever we first met, which must have been sort of in the 15th century or something. It does look good. I'm sorry that you had issues with the Malaga humidity, but I do agree that we do need to see photographic evidence.
I'll send it afterwards. Happy to.
Great. So if anybody's listening and you haven't looked at anything I used to publicize this episode, you might want to go find it. I might even put the sponsors' logos on it. Just to see how that turns out.
I've worked with both of those sponsors, and they're both jolly good at what they do.
Well, hang on, there's 3 of them. Which one have you worked with?
Maybe I wasn't listening for the third one. I remember you mentioning GLI and Optimove. Yep. Who was the third one? Somebody changed their name. I'm not sure I worked with them, so it would not be correct for me to endorse them.
Well, they're also fabulous, and I have worked with them, and I heartily recommend it.
Excellent.
No, Patrick, you wrote an article that appeared in EGR.
Yeah.
That would explain why I had to read a précis and I couldn't read the article.
Right.
What you used that word twice now. What does that word mean? Praesian?
Oh, for fuck's sake.
What does that mean?
I am not.
Sorry. I'm badly educated. I'm just trying. I'm here to learn, John.
What I do when I oh fuck. Well, it's the Swedish word for just. I've just learned. Wow. That's whenever I'm asked what a word means, I tend to just look it up just to make sure, and then it sticks even better in my head because I know what it means to me. I'm obviously using it in the Swedish now. It's a concise summary that captures the main points, logic, and tone of a longer text, speech, or report.
Say that again. You said that really fast.
Think of it like an executive summary.
Okay.
In modern parlance, Fintan, TLDR.
Got it. Okay.
So,
Oh, so it is because it's EGR because they've got the paywall, so you only read through a bit and then you.
yeah.
Got it. Okay.
So, Patrick,
Sorry.
what was your article about?
So, I was asked by EGR, by Julian Rogers, the top man there, to write an op-ed on anything I wanted to, which I thought was incredibly dangerous request. And I thought about it for a while and then said to him, look, actually, I do have some time to do it. I've got some ideas. I'm not really sure which one I'm going to go with. But I think, give me a bit of time to write about it and I'll think about it. And while I was writing these 3 different articles, which I wrote, I was reminded of something my dad said, before he died, which he said, you never vote for yourself, you must always vote for your country. And I realized that 2 of the articles that I was writing, were, sort of commercially sort of positive for me, as opposed to commercially neutral or indeed commercially negative. And I decided that therefore wasn't the right thing to do, and I should focus on the one which was the best for the sector, even though it wasn't necessarily the best for me. And I started writing it, and the more I wrote it, the more I began to believe what I was writing, if that made sense. I wasn't convinced when I started writing it. But the argument developed quite nicely. And the argument basically is that the gambling industry is fighting the wrong war. And we have been, as a sector, we've been fighting regulator and regulations, etc., without dealing with the root cause, as the techies would say. And the root cause, in my diagnosis, is customer trust. And what we need to really be doing is focusing on rebuilding customer trust, because the regulation is increasing and getting worse because the customers don't trust us, the regulators don't trust us, etc. And this kind of regulation as symptom cycle is happening in real time. And I suppose what makes it more than theory is you can kind of watch this cycle turning in the UK as we speak. I think in 2025 and into this year, the Gambling Commission has ramped up, as you know, enforcement dramatically, and something like 10,000 compliance actions in the last year, which is more than double the year before. So this is not a regulator which is happy or satisfied. This is a regulator, which is accelerating. And of course, the operators, of which I spent 30 years running some of the biggest ones around the world, knee-jerk reaction is to blame the regulator for everything. Oh, if only the regulator didn't do this, the regulator didn't do that, the world would be such a better place. But I say that the regulator is only responding to the customer trust issues which exist. And I think that if we go about fixing that, then actually we're solving the root cause problem. Because if we just continue this war with the regulator, and war might be too strong a word, but okay, internally it certainly seems to be a war. um, you know, I don't think that one ever gets to the bottom of it, and just the cycle continues.
I agree. I think if we look at the UK and the BCG and the various lobbying, the government and stuff, there's an obvious message around, if you implement this, people are going to go offshore, and that's really, really bad. And there's absolutely an element of truth in that. And then at the exact same time, I can't remember exactly which operator it is, but somebody's just received a massive fine in the UK for, I want to say Betfred, for doing stuff, right? And okay, it's Betfred this time. A year ago it was somebody else. A year ago it was somebody, like, there's, when's the next Daily Mail VIP scandal / regulatory slapdown going to happen? So it's really, it must be really frustrating for the regulator to sit there and hear the offshore market being blamed for everything, and then at the exact same time, dishing out big fines to regulated onshore guys who should be playing fair and playing by the rules. And I think it's incredibly damaging to the industry when this keeps happening, because it's every 6 to 12 months, like it's like clockwork.
Yep.
Like it just never stops, and it's the same. It's not even like the rogue small operators who don't have the massive compliance departments or the systems and checks and balances and the big data and the quants and the AI and the everything else to go with it. The stock market listing and everything that goes to the auditors and stuff. It's as easily the big guys as it is anybody else, and it never ends. It's ridiculous.
It's ridiculous, and Fintan, history backs this all up as well. If you look at it, right, banking didn't become heavily regulated because politicians one day woke up in bed and went, "Ooh, we're interested in financial services." It happened because public trust collapsed after 2007-8, and we're watching the same thing happening to the technology companies now. As governments are responding to concerns over privacy, misinformation. Look at the social media ban, etc., etc. And the sequence, and it is a sequence, is always the same. Trust declines, public pressure grows, regulation follows, and gambling's no different. And because most of our industry debate starts halfway through that story, we keep on arguing about the regulation itself without ever asking why it keeps expanding in the first place.
Yeah.
It's also like some of the things that you talked about you talked about making the customer journey just satisfying and optimizing the onboarding and resolving conflict, and kind of looking after people in the way that you would just assume that happens anyway. And of course, if a business is doing this, then they're already more efficient because they're not having to shell out all that money to get new customers. They're keeping they're reducing churn. I mean, it's a winner all ends up. There's no two ways about this. It's interesting, like there's one operator that I know of, and I won't mention what area they're working in because it might make it obvious, but they have more actual contact with customers than any other operator I can think of, and their churn is through the floor as a result. And it's not a coincidence.
Yeah.
With AI, with chatbots, with all of that shit, it's like, oh, we're more efficient, we can talk to more people, we can do this, that, and the other. But actually, that shit leaves me cold. The closer I can get to talking to a human being, the happier I am.
Yep.
And that's what we do. That's how we respond to things emotionally as animals. And
yep.
that emotional response, while it's like a really base instinct,
yeah,
it's one that's actually deeply tied to our emotions.
Yep.
and we remember that bond.
Yeah, I can tell you a really good, really easy story. That back in 2000 and I'll go six, might have been 2007. I bought my then fiance, or might have been my then wife. It was 2007 for Christmas. An Amazon Kindle. Everybody knows what they are now. Nobody knew what they were then. She is and was a great reader. And they seemed like the ideal present. And I bought it for her. And she opened it on Christmas Day, and the bloody thing didn't work. I was like, Christ, this is expensive present, and etc. So I got onto Amazon, famous Amazon customer services, on Boxing Day. And I'm in London. We were living in London. And by the 29th of December, a brand new Amazon Kindle had been sent to the home address, which did work, right? There was no 40,000 emails back and forth, chatbots, this, that, the other, etc., etc. I mean, there might be with Amazon now, I don't know, right? But that was customer service at the most extraordinary level. And it was very much of the level of, we trust you 100%. You've got no reason, to make this up. I mean, if you're a perpetual fraudster, then of course, and I'll deal with that point in a second, right? But boom. And I just think to myself, how much money have I spent on Amazon since 2007, 2006, whenever it was, because of this point, and everybody else, right? Now, I've then brought tried to bring that thinking and operational behavior over to a lot of the companies I've been, fortunate enough to help out and look after, and blah, blah, blah. With the very simple thing of like, every frontline CS agent should just be empowered. If the query is less than 100 quid, just give it to the guy, right? Just give it to the person, right? Don't get into a massive argument and ruck about it, etc., etc. Yeah, and make a note. January the 13th, 2:15 p.m. We gave this guy 100 quid, or we dealt with his query, etc., etc. Now, you very quickly come out with a database of the fact that 99% of your customers are good and are not trying to defraud you. And therefore, you've made rules and regulations, etc., which are focused on dealing with the 99% of good guys, as opposed to the other end of the telescope, which is where all the operators exist, which is because there is 1% of bad guys, yeah, we have rules and regulations for those 1% of bad guys to stop them. But the problem is, it ballses it up for the other 99%, right? Which is completely getting it, arse over face. And, MoPlay, for example, and in other companies that I've looked after, I said to them, if there is any query which is outstanding, for more than 24 hours, as COO, I want it to hit my desk, and I'm going to give you a decision. And it's not only good ethics, as I say in my piece, it's good economics, right? Not only because of all the things that John mentioned around emotion and how we behave and how we respond, but also just time. I have seen $1 billion, $10 billion, $20 billion, $30 billion companies spend thousands of dollars of man hours on a query of less than 500 quid. And I've seen it everywhere I've worked. And it's just madness. Everybody loses. Customer loses, company loses, trust goes down, everything collapses. And this is one example. We can talk endlessly on other examples, but it's just one clear example whereby both sides are coming from a position of lack of trust, and everybody loses as a result.
It's common sense, right? It's crazy, right? It's common sense, but it's actually fairly unique in the space. Like, I remember years ago doing a project around VIPs.
Yeah.
And how to identify a VIP early on in the life cycle, as early on in the life cycle as possible. And what we found was actually really simple, right? They would deposit a small amount, play around a little bit, and cash out. And then, if that all went smoothly, they'd come back with a little bit more and play around, cash out. And this cycle repeated, and then eventually they came in with the real deposit and started playing. So I was like, okay, this is a trust thing. Am I going to get my money back? So then the trick is really fast cash outs for everyone, right? No dicking about, no messing around. If they want to cash out, just give them the money as quickly. None of this like cancel your cash out. It's going to take 3 days to process. You know, the big cancel your cash out button. Just give them the money as quickly as possible.
Give them the money. Exactly. I think I say in my piece, you know, that that's the moment that customers discover whether the promises made during acquisition actually survive contact with operational reality. And no more is that more important than when it's a game of money, which this is, right? You know,
Give me my money.
give me my money. Yeah. And of course, you know, understand around fraud and KYC, et cetera, et cetera. But, you know, again, I think I can say this. Maybe I can't. Can I say it? Let's say I know for a fact. John McEnroe has this great story. He goes, when you're 22 years old, you can go out to a nightclub in London till 4 a.m. And come and play the men's singles final at Wimbledon and win. I know this for a fact. Let's just say I know this for a fact without going any further. That I was trying to get this all changed for a very, very large, world famous tier one. It's exactly this issue that we're talking about. And we've got this, the anti-money laundering and the fraud and the KYC, all this kind of stuff. Okay, how many times in the previous 12 months have we declined a withdrawal? Answer comes back 3 days later. I mean, 3 days later, not 2 minutes later. 3 days later, zero. Not once. So you've got this insane process, which is destroying 99% of your customer base, or in this case, 100% of your customer base. Just because there might be, a chap from a country doing stuff that you don't want to be doing. It's nonsense, right? It's stop making rules for the 1 in a trillion chance and make rules for the 99% chance and get better at dealing with the 1% chance, right?
But this, like, if you think of like old-fashioned bookmaking, right, where there's a guy with a chalkboard stood there on the side of a racetrack, and it's a handshake and it's a promise and it's here's your cash. Like it is about doing the basics really, really well, because I can bet on sports with you, I can bet on sports with anybody else, and it's basically the same product.
Yep.
It's the basic stuff. It's the other stuff around it.
Yep.
It's like, do I get my money fast? Will customer support just sort out the issue immediately? Can I get a bet on?
Yep.
Can I maybe, I don't know, I want to bet on something that's not available. Can you just sort that out for me? Or whatever it's going to be. Just those absolute fundamental simple stuff is the differentiator.
Yep.
That's like, but it's so obvious. But it's so obvious, and only a few people do it well.
It's utterly nuts, and because you have to be able to say this, Fintan, right? You have to be. I mean, you almost have to be the CEO, and I know a CEO that did this in the last 10 years, and I know another CEO who did it 15 years ago. 15 years ago? Yeah. You literally on day one have to get everybody in the room. Yeah. And say, how many projects, product projects, right? Techie projects. Yeah. How many projects do we have in flight right now? And the answer is always some ridiculous thing, 147 or whatever, of which everybody knows. You, John, me, everybody knows 140 are never going to see the light of day. But there's still effort and attention going on. So it's like, right, first thing we do, what's this project? What does it do? What's this project? How much going to just, we're going to bin all the nonsense. Right, okay, now we've got 5 projects. Okay, we've gone from 147 to 5, right? Now, what do those projects actually do and deliver? Yeah. And then you have to ask yourself this question. When the iPhone comes out of the box, when the iPad comes out of its box, etc., you give it to your mother, she can make it work. Doesn't come with, there's no instructions, right? There's not an instruction booklet, right? So when you download the sports betting app, I shouldn't need a manual to work out how to deposit, how to withdraw, how to place a same game parlay or build a bet or whatever it might be. But you do, right? And then say, right, what are the key customer journeys? And the key customer journeys, as we all know what they are, right? Login, deposit, registration, withdraw, find my bet, build an ACCA, bet and play. There are only 20. If we make those 20 the most seamless on the planet, yeah, and continually benchmark ourselves, not, here we did some benchmarking, was it Q3 last year? No. Every month I want to know, these are our 20 key user journeys, how we benchmark against companies A, B, C, D, in our marketplace, right? We have 5 steps, they have 6. We have 4 steps, they have 3. Blah blah blah. Each one, etc., etc. How do we constantly make that better? Ask yourself, putting time and development resource, into that world, or putting time and resource into the 145 other projects that I mentioned, stroke innovation labs, stroke whatever, blah blah blah. And it's nonsense to do the second part, and it's nonsense for doing the second part for one reason, because there's only been 2 innovations in the sector since 2010. Cash out and build a bet. Well, so what if 365 launches it first, or Skybet launches it first, or, Jimmy launches it first? We'll just copy it, and we're 6 months behind them. Big deal, right? Big deal.
Agreed.
So what?
I have a theory about that.
Mm.
I call it everybody hates their website theory.
Everybody hates their website.
So you spend
I like that.
long, for any business, right? You spend so long looking at your website that you're sick of it.
Of course.
Right? And then what happens is you've spent so long looking at your website at the planning stage. By the time it launches, you're sick of it.
Yep.
So it's only like out a week and you're already, I fucking hate this website.
Right.
Or like this, or we should have done this, or whatever it's going to be.
Yep.
But for most people, they like it, or it's the first time they've seen it, or whatever it's going to be. And I think with this as well, like, people get bored, really, and it's probably one of the successes of Bet365. They just stuck to, or PokerStars back in the day, or whatever. They just stuck to the knitting, relentless focus on one thing.
Yep.
We're going to be the best at in-play. We're going to be the best at poker, or I don't know, tombola. We're going to be the best at bingo. That kind of mission creep, or I come from marketing background, right? So we're the most ADHD, fucking, like, any shiny object. Oh my god, it's the new cool thing. We're all going to do VR goggles stuff. It's going to be amazing.
Famously self-hating, right?
Yeah, or NFTs, or pick the craze. We're all over, right? We fucking love it. And I think that there is this whole ADHD. We're sick of this. We've been looking at it for ages. We've got to do something interesting. Or, I'm middle management and I need to justify my existence. And it's better to be busy than, whatever. But there's such an advantage to just relentless focus on getting one thing completely right.
Yep.
And it's like you mentioned Apple. Amazon's a good example with the Kindle as an e-reader is phenomenal. It just works. In fairness, Sky TV, the Skybox, again, really simple UX. It just works.
Yep.
And they're not a big,
just make
US
it work.
Tech company. Like, it is that kind of, like, your grandma can figure it out.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of people get into that shiny object trap. And like you said, that there's only been 2 innovations.
Yep.
And like when cash out happened, everybody had it within 6 months. Despite the protests and whatever, build a bet. Again, everyone had it fairly quickly. It's once you see it, you see it. And, or then micro betting in the US, which is basically just more advanced in play. Everyone had it fairly quickly once they realized it was a thing.
Yep. and then realised the feeds couldn't deal with it. But that's a separate.
I'll get into the details.
Details, mate. Details.
But it is like, if you look at, in fairness, we talked about like Apple's a really good example of that. Like Apple are really good at being the second or like later to the market, but then just coming in with the better product. Like they didn't have the first iPod, they didn't have, or whatever, MP3 player. They didn't have the first digital watch. They didn't have fucking most things. They've had a load of misses as well, but when they've shown up, you know, what is it? What was it called? The person at the innovator is typically the one with all the arrows in their back or something like that. Some phrase around that.
I think the phrase that might apply for Apple is, the early bird may get the worm, but the second mouse gets the cheese.
Is that really what it is? I mean, the interesting thing is, you know, with Apple, and I can really go a long way down this rabbit hole. I'm not sure if your listeners would appreciate it. Maybe they would. You know, but the thing with Apple is, I mean, I'd make 2 points. One, you know, the first iPhone didn't even have text message functionality. You couldn't text.
So the battery life was like 4 hours or something ridiculous.
Yeah. So Nokia sent their, you know, couple of executives to wherever, California, to buy this thing when it came out, et cetera, et cetera. Brought it back to Nokia HQ. You know, all the C-level around the table, et cetera, famously opened the box, and they all fell about laughing because it had about 1/20th of the functionality of what the Nokia, was it the 7420? I can't remember. Whatever that phone, you know, like, and they all sort of went back to the Golf. You know? But those 5 features that Apple had were just chef's kiss, right? They just nailed that. Okay, they just nailed it. Now, there's two subsection points here. One is about focus of the, you know, the group. What are we doing? We're building phones. Okay, fine, right? You can argue about whether they're building phones or doing, you know, lifestyle luxury stuff, but let's just say that. But the other focus when we talk about the product, which is more specifically to what we're talking about in this context, is making that part of the product, or making that product totally intuitive, seamless. And the key point here is this, and this sounds very Apple-y, right? But in a product-led sector, which gaming is, betting is, sportsbook is, where you basically, the product is the same. You can buy the same things off everybody. England to win, Messi to score, blah, blah, blah. When there's basically a homogenization of prices, this is where all the trading directors start going, no, like this. Come on, guys, right? What are you competing on? You can't compete on product because you've all got the same thing. Yeah, you can't compete on price because they're rock bottom. You'll be into profit warning zones, as we were in 2014, 15, 16, when they did all compete on price and all, you know, prisoner dilemmaed themselves, right? Amazingly. So what are you competing on? What is, you know, and it's, you're competing on experience. And what is the root of experience? Trust. So if you think about it this way, right, what is defining my experience when I'm interacting with a sportsbook, when I'm interacting with a casino? That's what people need to think about. Not this gizmo does this and this blah, 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 but I just want to get on and deposit 20 quid and back, you know, Bellingham to be first goal scorer. That's what 90% of people want to do.
I have just done that, actually.
I'm sure. I'm sure a lot of people have. You know? Right? And if somebody comes out with a new mousetrap like Cash Out, brilliant, we'll seize that. And we'll be 6 months after everybody, so what? But for everybody, the mass market that just wants to back Bellingham first goal scorer, that is the product. It's that experience that you have while you're interacting with the app. And the experience, and this is the point about why it sounds Apple-y, the experience becomes the product, and a bit of a Johnny Ive step here. The product becomes the brand.
But this is the thing. Like when you say the experience becomes the product, but the experience of betting on going into the first goal scorer is relatively straightforward and homogenized, right? It's all going to be fairly, within 3 or 4 clicks, you'll have placed that bet.
But within 3 or 4 clicks, that's the key. That therein lies the difference between the fruit fly and the human. That's the point, Fintan. So I will talk to you about this. So there are 2 airlines. I don't think can I name airlines on this?
They're not listening.
Right. Okay. They're not listening. So British Airways and EasyJet, and I always do this to new teams when I'm lucky enough to go and start working with them. So British Airways and EasyJet are the 2 airlines that fly from Gibraltar to London, right, and London to Gibraltar. I live in Gibraltar, right? It's just those 2 airlines. The planes take off at the same time. They land at the same time, within 15 minutes, half an hour. Okay, the prices are roughly the same. Okay, I know people tell you about EasyJet or British Airways, blah blah blah. I can tell you the prices are roughly the same. British Airways tends to be a little bit more expensive, but it's the same. What's the value proposition of a flight? The value proposition of a flight is one thing. Yeah, land safely on time. That's it. Right? That's it. There's nothing else to it, right? They do all these business class surveys about, I want this wine and I need to have a flatbed. Of course, a flatbed's really nice, long haul. I've done it a zillion times, like this. I mean, literally a zillion. Of course. But even for business class passengers, what comes out higher than anything else in the world is land safely on time. Yeah, because they got to get to whatever they're doing, etc., etc. Now, here is a product, therefore, is exactly the same. Now, I'll ask you this question. You each can have a guess, right? How long do you think it takes me to book a ticket, a round-trip ticket from Gibraltar to London, back to Gibraltar on the British Airways app? And how long do you think it takes me to do it on the EasyJet app? And everyone's going to think I'm a bit of a knob, but I want you to know this because it's really crucial to answering the question. I'm a British Airways American Express card holder, and I'm British Airways Gold.
So having had the misfortune of using the British Airways app, it is utterly horrific. It is the worst airline app I've ever encountered. EasyJet app booking, my guess is booking through I've used EasyJet as well. Booking through EasyJet has to be significantly easier and quicker than British Airways.
Well, you're absolutely right, of course. Now, do you want me to give you the British Airways time first, or do you want me to give you the EasyJet time first, and you have to guess what the delta is?
Do EasyJet, and then we'll guess.
EasyJet's 55 seconds.
Then BA is like 5 minutes.
Yeah, 4 minutes 30. Exactly.
But just to slight sidestep here, were you just swigging from a bottle of Bombay Sapphire?
I would.
Business is good.
Your Bombay Sapphire comes in glass. Mine comes in plastic.
It might be duty free.
No, this is Agua Mineral Natural, and even I think I can translate that.
I was just checking.
No, but nice to ask. Good to check. It's such a critical point, though, right? That I enjoy spending money with one of those companies, and it really annoys me spending money with another one.
Yeah, I completely. It's the BA app is an absolute
shambles.
It's unbelievable, and given how it's a big airline group, multiple airlines.
Yep.
Flagship carrier for the UK for years. Like this isn't.
Can I make a bit of a leap here? Because I think I'd be interested in your views on this, right? So, having looked after the biggest tier ones around the planet and having worked for startups, one of the things that you notice, of course, is that if you work for a big tier one, and I'll get to the point, getting a new photocopier put on your floor is a 6-month event, all right? Now, keep that in the back of your mind. You think the rate of change of AI, what AI is doing for us every single day. So literally, I will try something. Well, let me tell you this way around. With Windows, you had to wait every few years for the next release of Windows, right? So you try something up, balls, it doesn't do that. And you were then stuck on Windows 98 or whatever it was until the next release. Yeah. I try stuff on Claude or ChatGPT or whatever on a Monday, doesn't work. Completely crap. Try again on Tuesday. They've solved it, right? I mean, it's just incredible. So if you think that how impossible it is to get a new photocopier into an office of a tier one, of a legacy tier one, and then you think about these challenger brands, these small companies, 50 people, 100 people, 150, maybe 200 people, coming after those big companies. I think they've got I think they've got a real shout. I think they're going to be successful. I think they're going to be successful because it's not a 2-year conversation to decide how we're going to implement AI, where we're going to do it, how it's going to impact workflows, people, processes, everything. Because you don't have, spaghetti junction on steroids upside down in a Chinese, black hole to solve, right? It's just bring it in and do it.
And they'll do it with a tiny team.
They can do it with a tiny team.
It'll be max 5 people.
Okay. So the orthodoxies, which have always had us, thinking, bigger is better, etc., etc. I think there's a very powerful argument for saying, you know what, ignore the, the top X companies, etc., in the world, so you know who we're talking about. I'm not going to name them. We know who we're talking about. But if you could kind of sell the market value, which you can, of the next 150 companies, yeah, just on one principle, and the principle is, you know what, your legacy systems, your tech setups, your processes, etc., yeah, are going to hold you back. However hard you try, however well intentioned you are, however smart you are, however organized you are, of being able to move at the speed of the companies with, Fintan, you say 5 people, I would say more, it doesn't matter. But, the point is companies, which have existed for 6 months and you've existed, and I'm not exaggerating, 50, 60, 70, 80 years.
Look, I'm just nodding and agreeing here. I think what you can do with the AIs is right now, we had a discussion internally of should we open up a HubSpot license for a CRM tool, or should we just build our own? And we've decided it's actually quicker and cheaper to build our own. And it's live, it's on staging, and we're testing it right now. And then we're getting all let's make sure we're customizing it how we want it. It's pulling in the information we need from our different systems.
Yep.
And version 3 is, we've done 2 or 3 versions of it today.
When you were talking about I've asked Howard Stutz to come back on, by the way, Fintan.
Oh, great.
So, yeah, I'm a big fan of Howard. But he wrote an article the other week, and this is linked, I promise. He wrote an article the other week in the Nevada Independent, and he nailed, I was saying a couple of episodes ago about how I didn't understand where the value was in the Caesars and MGM deals. He's nailed it and explained it in this article. And fundamentally, it is 2 very rich dudes looking at these companies to take them private, and the massive saving that they make is in not having to compliance departments, in not having to do SEC filings for their stock market and all of that shit. And that apparently is a massive value saving that makes them an attractive $20-odd billion proposition.
Can I just add, I don't know whether you're looking at my LinkedIn yesterday that made you say that, John, but I posted this yesterday. Quote, the difference between an 11.5% and 12% Q4 hold rate is effectively the difference between hitting the low end of guidance or falling short, said the Deutsche Bank team in a note last week regarding DraftKings. And I commented, and in that one sentence, well, just about everything you need to know about this sector. Exactly right. exactly what you were quoting there.
Well, I think Howard made the point in his article, or I can't remember if he was quoting somebody. He said something like, having to scramble to make those filings and constantly having to do that and having to put so much energy and so many hours into doing that. That's why you're getting charged for parking. That's why your resort fee is what it is. That's why we're bleeding you before you walk in. That's why parking's not free anymore, etc. I thought that's really interesting because I've been saying for ages, the first company that brings back and keeps free parking, brings things back to where they were 15 years ago on the Strip, they're going to have such high occupancy that it'll make what they've taken away, that little bit of money they've taken away, absolutely irrelevant. They'll be full all year round. But anyway, what do I know? But yes, scale. I mean, as you both know, like overtrading is a big deal. Overtrading is a huge risk as companies try to expand, and you mitigate that and you get money in the right way and you do VC funding and you build and you grow and you build and you grow and you do that stock market flotation. Everybody does great and it's brilliant. But isn't it surprising that more companies don't go that route and then have a plan in, say, 5 years to just buy the lot back and go, thanks, we got where we wanted, see you, bye.
Not quite as easy as that.
It's not quite as easy.
What I'm saying.
There are a million examples where that would have been a great play, but inertia is so strong.
Yeah. And a lot of it's tied to debt and stuff as well, and your banking covenants, and it gets a little bit tricky. Not undoable, but it's There's levels. Yeah.
It's an onion.
It's an onion. It's a big onion. It's a big onion.
Patrick, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you so much for having me on. I really enjoyed it. It was.
I'm very pleased to learn that you are, in fact, a legend.
I'm sure everyone switched off long ago and said that's absolutely not true. But if there's somebody still listening, I'm really grateful.
Yeah, they've usually switched off by the first sponsor ad read, I think. No, just kidding.
Our numbers are flying. Don't mind them. We're doing great.
Seriously, have you seen? I sent you a message about our numbers.
Yeah.
It's, as we record this, we're 2 weeks into July, and we've had our biggest month of downloads ever.
Yeah.
Which is just madness. I'm
Well
delighted. But I'm just gonna bear with me a second here. Just gonna check that the trend is still continuing. No, they've fallen off a cliff again.
Because of this one.
The World Cup. We're going to blame the World Cup for that. That's fine.
But no, last 28 days we're up 80%.
There you go. All you need. Do that.
It's wild. So perfect timing for Patrick to come on and cement our newfangled legacy.
And I've really enjoyed it, guys. It's been nice to see you.
Thank you, Patrick, and we will hopefully see you again.
Look forward to it. Have a great day.
If you've enjoyed this episode of the Gambling Files podcast, please find us on LinkedIn. Give us a big, juicy, succulent like. That nearly went wrong. You can find us under the name The Gambling Files Podcast. You can find us on Twitter under The Gambling Files. I think the handle is just @GamblingFiles. You can connect to myself, John Bruford, or Fintan Costello, also on LinkedIn. We're also both on Twitter. And you can find all of our previous episodes at www.thegamblingfiles.com. If you enjoyed it, please share, tell your friends, tell your family, tell your colleagues, and we'll see you next time.